Well, hey everyone, I'm Beth McCord, and this is your Enneagram Coach, the podcast. Today, we're excited to have Heather and Bruce MacFadyen on our show to talk about what it's like to parent from their Enneagram types.
So Heather's an Enneagram 4 and the host of a very popular podcast, Don't Mom Alone. She's a speaker, and now she's adding to all of that and being an author to all the list of things that she does. Her husband, Bruce, is a 3. And he's here as well to let us coach them through what it's like to parent from the perspective of a type 4 and a type 3 relationship. So not only are we just applying an Enneagram to marriage, but now what it looks like with the kids.
It's even more complected when we add the kids to it.
Oh man, it's going to get really fun. Really super fun here. But welcome to the show, MacFadyens. We're so glad you're with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's dive right in. And why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, who you are, what you do. I know Jeff said a little bit, but let's dive a little bit further. And then how many kids you have and what are their ages?
Well, thank you for reminding me that now I get to say author. My resume just grew a little bit.
That's super
My
fun.
wing 3 is very excited.
Yes. Do you have a name for your 3 wing? We've actually named all of our parts.
Showgirl.
Yes.
She's quite a showgirl.
Oh.
Lucy, Audrey, one of those. Yeah, she's a showgirl.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, I totally feel that. Good.
Yeah. So we live in Dallas, Texas, and I am a professional licensed speech. I can't even say it. Speech language pathologist. And did that for years before podcasting. And then we have 4 boys that are ages 9 to 16.
Wow.
4 boys.
4 boys. That's amazing.
All right.
And
Right.
what's that been like for you raising 4 boys?
It's so easy. Everyone should do it. It's like a breeze, especially if you squeeze them in 6 years. It's so easy.
Right. Exactly.
No, it's been the most refining bloodbath work on my inner self that I've ever had in all my 44 years. So,
We have a good friend who's raising 3 girls, and their ages 9, 6, and 5. And I think he would say pretty much the same thing, but from the other side.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Bruce, tell us a little bit about you.
I am in the investment business and just do my best to be a calm father. I think that is the one thing that I've learned is rarely does more intensity help a situation. So as a 3, I want to achieve. And I learned in many ways, the best way to achieve was actually to chill out.
Wow.
Yeah.
We heard a
What a
great
good
line the
parenting.
other day that it was a pastor who's a 3, and his staff tell him, take the cape off. Just to hey, relax. Everything's fine. Like we don't need to push any harder.
Yeah. Like we value you. Your worth is so high in our, in our eyes. You don't have to be the superhero.
Now, have your boys ever said, Dad, just chill out?
I think,
It's probably me.
well, they would have when I was more intense in it all. They were younger.
Sure.
But I think if I was still the way that I was, I would have earned that a lot.
And I think now it's less about the superhero. It's less about, it's more task oriented.
Sure.
Yeah.
Forward momentum.
Yep.
Yeah. Energy. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you guys discover the Enneagram?
Oh my goodness. That's a really good question. I don't even know.
Well, I'll start by saying I grew up with a mom that was obsessed with industrial psychology. So
Okay.
from being a young kid, I mean, honestly, like 10 years old, I was taking assessments. All of us, me, I have 3 sisters, and we did something called the Berkman, which is great. Very, very, it's like going PhD on yourself. And so obviously everybody gets exposed to Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
And I would say Enneagram has probably been more over the last 7-8 years that I started to get more familiar with it.
Yeah, I really have no clue where the first time I heard about it, but it just feels like it's been a part of conversations and learning and reading.
Do you remember finding out that you finding out your numbers and discovering how the Enneagram
what was that
describes your
process
style?
like?
I did it as a part of a corporate retreat the very first time. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned that because I had taken it, and I'm a 3-wing 2, and studied that. And I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And Heather you probably were familiar with it, but one time you came back and you'd been at some sort of Enneagram event. And you came back and you said, "I know what you are. You're a 7." I said, "I'm not. I'm actually a 3-wing too."
And it took me a really long time. So I was like, "No, you're so fun, you're so engaging. You're always going. And that to me was one of my first experiences of you don't type other people,
Right?
Yes.
because their behavior and why they're doing it is so vastly different. People don't believe that I'm a 4 because I'm the self preservation
Yes.
4.
The counter type. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What would they typically think you?
They think I'm a 6 or a 7.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
in
very
that
common.
region.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Fascinating. Yeah.
and if I think back to my childhood, oh my goodness, it's very helpful to have the
Yes.
language around 4. I was told I have older siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of like the second set of kids, and the older siblings would tell stories of how I cried for a year. Like everything was so all over the top, and
Yes.
I just very imaginative and spent a lot of time in cemeteries. And I don't meet a lot of people that they
No?
talk about that. Me
No,
and my friend,
I don't
I was
think
homeschooled, and we would go to cemeteries and write down the names of people and their dates and create stories off of
Wow.
what we found on the headstones. And I don't think a lot of people did that for fun.
I don't
That's
think
not a 4 thing.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a weird thing that I didn't tell people because it's so odd. But then when I found out about 4s, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. It didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Being in, I wasn't overwhelmed by the concept of a cemetery.
Right.
I was
Exactly.
more marveling at the connections and
Yes.
the people. And I, even when you'd find like several headstones
Like
next to each
members?
other, like connecting the dots. Oh, they
Yeah.
died when they were 27. And anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
That is
kind of stuff.
fascinating.
Well, one
I
thing
don't know if
wanted
I've
to ask
shared that
about,
before,
too.
guys. I don't know. This is the first time. You still love
That's
me?
great.
Yes.
That's right.
I think
Well,
that's so intriguing.
So, Bruce, you're next. Any dark hobbies you had as a kid that you've never told anyone?
I like your
I've never done that.
I like your story though of how you used to play with Hot Wheels cars,
Mm.
and you wanted them to crash, so you would bang one up and you'd throw it in there to look like it crashed. I don't know if that goes with.
Well,
being
if I had matching ones, I would get a hammer on one, and then when I have like car accidents, I would throw out
Yes.
the good one and put in the bad one. But I don't know if that's a 3 thing.
I don't know. I just thought it was very fun.
That is a
Yeah.
fun story.
Now, I'm curious. So how long have you been married?
21 years.
21 years. And
22 years.
as
That COVID thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
The whole year is
2020
just, who
didn't
knows
exist.
where it
I
went.
don't. Yeah,
Mhm.
we're off now.
We
But
ignore it. Yeah.
I'm curious. Now through the lens of the Enneagram, what do you think it was that attracted you to one another?
Mhm.
But through the lens of your Enneagram types.
That's a good question. I've actually had not thought of that before.
I think if I think about stances,
Mhm.
and then I think of attachment theory,
Mhm.
there's an element to the fact that he is in the aggressive stance,
Mhm.
and then he is a healthy 3. His
Mhm.
parents did a really good job. He's very securely attached. That my withdrawn stance, or I'm anxiously attached, I think that is.
Okay.
So I'm attracted to that because there was such confidence, and he spoke so highly about other people and was so positive that I hadn't experienced that. And so I was really drawn to that security. That
Yeah.
he kind of knew what he was doing, knew who he was,
Yep.
and knew where we were going.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
that was attractive.
Absolutely.
What did you like about me?
So
You get to tell
I
me.
guess in my head, I'm trying to like tie it to Enneagram, but I'm not going to try. I'm going to leave that to you guys.
Yes.
That's
Um,
great.
But I think one of the things that drew me to Heather were her mannerisms,
Mm-hmm.
like just the quirkiness, and maybe that is a 4 thing. I don't know, but like, just I don't know, just the way that she would respond to things non-verbally. Like for whatever reason, like I was physically attracted to her mannerisms, like kind of who she is.
My
and
oddity.
her,
It's appealing.
I guess.
Which is so funny.
I don't know what it is, but it is true.
Right as you were saying that, she's like doing this little dance in her chair,
Yeah.
and no one else can see it but us. And I'm like, oh, there it is.
She's super quirky, and I love it.
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah. True.
was it playfulness? Was it what did it do for you inside? I mean, aside from just being attractive, was it comforting to you? Was it
Relaxing.
It made me smile.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It made me smile. Like it was just it drew me towards her. And it just made me enjoy being with her.
That's great.
It's interesting. So as many of our listeners know, we've made 45 different marriage courses, one for each couple type.
Wow.
And as we were building and recording and research all of it, and even our team, like we would get to certain couple types and like, oh man, I don't think this could ever work. And then we would remind ourselves like, oh no, that's their couple type. We're friends with them. They've got a great marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And many might think that the 3-4 combination, like that would be crazy. 4s want to express themselves and express emotion, and 3s want to perform and like can set aside and compartmentalize emotion so that they can get stuff done and keep moving forward. Like that must be a nightmare. But there you are. You actually found something that was really comforting to the both of you that actually could help you to become the people God wanted you to become, a fuller person, right?
That makes you love me more when he's saying that, because it's positive.
Thank you.
That's right. So let's talk about the dark side of your marriage. No.
Taking a turn.
Yeah.
I didn't like that she hung out in cemeteries.
But yet we immediately stopped that.
Right. That would have changed the game. No.
That would have been not as cute.
So this particular podcast, though, we're going to be talking about parenting and how the Enneagram helps to give language to why we think, feel, and behave as it relates to parenting. And so...
but what is this not?
This is not typing your kids.
Or how to raise a type 1 child or a type 2 child. Like that's not what we're here for. We're here to really talk about what is it like for us to parent through our type. God created us to be our type, and each of our types, when we're at our healthiest and aligned with the truth of the gospel, we reflect him and his glory. But when we're misaligned or out of alignment, our parenting is also going to go in that direction, and it wreaks havoc within ourselves and in all of our relationships.
Curt Thompson, he's written a number of books, Anatomy of the Soul, Soul of Shame. But I remember seeing a YouTube video, and he's talking about attachment in the brain. But one of the things he said in passing is that for parents, one of the greatest gifts that you can give to your kids is to understand your own story. Because if you don't, you're going to reenact and coach your children into that story. Mm-hmm. And by God's grace, they're going to push back on that. They're going to resist it. And you're going to miss the opportunity to find healing and to help them to become the people God intends for them to be able to differentiate from you. And so the Enneagram helps to give language to all those things.
Yeah, and so we've got several questions for you guys. But before we dive into the questions, I just want for everyone that's listening to be aware of the type 3 and the type 4. So I'm going to just kind of talk about the core motivations of both types because that will set the stage. So for the type 3, they're the admirable achievers, and they fear being a failure, worthless, inefficient, exposed, not having high regard in the eyes of others. And they desire to be successful, to be admired, to be worthwhile to others, to be valuable, and to have high status and high regards in the eyes of others. But they struggle with the core weakness of deceit. Now, deceit here means that they deceive themselves into believing that they're only the image they present to others. And so they feel like they have to embellish a certain persona, whichever person they're around or whatever culture they're around, put on a polished persona so that others will see it and admire them. So they think they're as good as their last success or their last glittering image. So they're constantly striving for that. But what they long to hear, their core longing is, you are loved for simply being you. You don't have to achieve. You're seen. And so that's the type 3. So the type 4 is the introspective individualist, and they fear being mundane, plain, ordinary, their emotions cut off. They can't express their emotions or go down deep, but they desire to express themselves, to know themselves fully, to be their most authentic self, to be original. Now, they struggle with the core weakness of envy. And envy here means that they feel that there's something tragically flawed or missing inside them, and that when they look around, others possess a quality that they feel like they're lacking. And so in order to, in a sense, win other people's approval and love and affection and to be seen and understood, they put on or they pull out within themselves this unique part of themselves, this very special part for others to see and love. What they long to hear is you are seen and loved for exactly who you are, special and unique. Now, in just saying those two, do those resonate with you guys? And if so, how?
I can say that's spot on for me. The good and the bad.
Right. Right.
Sure, we'll talk about that in more detail.
I was reading that out to him from what you all sent us, and my son was listening in, and they were all tuning in when I got positive, and then the second it went negative, they both were like, "Shut it off." He goes, "Why are you saying that about Dad? Don't say that about Dad." I was like, "I'm just reading."
That's fascinating.
I accept it. I accept it.
He accepts it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you've owned that.
Yeah.
Much better. Yeah.
Well, the first question I wanted to ask, just in general, where do you feel like you shine in your parenting style?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel. I'm curious if the heart triad starts sentences with "I feel" and the other ones start with "I think."
It's very common.
Yeah,
Very common.
it is common, and it's also vernacular, right? I mean, sometimes we have
Yeah.
thoughts that we explain as feelings, so it's a little bit of.
I never ever
But
say "I think."
I've had that same curious thought as well, and I've kind of paid attention. But then it's really weird when it gets to us, those of us that are in the gut center, because it's not a thought,
It's a
it's
third
not
brain.
a feeling. Yeah, it's like this other. But we have. I mean, the English language really only allows for thinking and feeling. I mean, occasionally people say, "Well, I have this gut feeling," but most people don't know how to accept or receive that information. It's like, well, that sounds kind of sketchy, you know. You don't even know what you're talking about. So all that to be said,
All that to say,
I think you're onto something, but because of the English language, I don't think we can quite put it the way it should be.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
yeah.
you feel.
Well, yeah. I feel
Ah.
that it is in the realm of feelings with my boys. I definitely was okay sitting with them. It just happened on the drive home. A lot of tears coming out of one of my kids, and just not fixing it, but saying, "I'm sad with you. That sounds really hard. You have a lot of, sounds like you're really sad." And that seems like they're able to express their emotions about things. I think that's the positive sign.
Yes, because I have a quick question. When he's crying, expressing himself, and you're saying those amazing things that so many of us wish everyone else would say when we're sad, instead of just trying to fix us and make us feel better. Within myself, as a 9 who's more in the optimistic spectrum and want people to be happy, I might say that, but really internally I'm calculating to when can I make this person feel better? So I'm just curious, from a type 4 mom, is that easy to do, what you just said? And is it natural? And do you feel the inclination to make them happy? Or from a 4's perspective, are you like, is it just almost like breathing air that you can sit there in those emotions?
I think I'm okay with a lot of the fluctuations. I think in that particular moment, I did start to feel some anger towards what caused him to be sad and wanted to I had to watch myself and be very careful that I didn't say words that made him the victim. My natural inclination was, he's the victim here. That's not okay. And kind of take on, if I was in that situation, how victimized I would feel, instead of just sitting in the feeling and let it be what it is and not add layers to what it is.
Sure.
That was hard for me to really just let him have his story with it.
But it sounds like it's really easy for you to say what you said, like, "Oh my gosh, that's so sad. That must be hard," and kind of just sit there in it. Is that true?
That's taken a little bit more training. We've done a lot of 12-step and processing groups.
Okay, good.
To be trained in those words.
Yeah.
So that they're accessible when I want to just be like, "I can't believe they did that." And
Yes.
calling the mom of the kid and going all mama bear. But
Yeah.
I think another thing she does really good is really well is kind of stopping and enjoying the moment and the experience.
I do that.
And, everybody's half birthdays get celebrated except for mine, but
Yeah.
mine's right about around Thanksgiving. So everybody forgets.
Me
So I don't usually
too.
remember until my annual birthday.
Your regular one.
Yeah, my
Yes.
regular one. But I think she does a really great job of focusing on experience, and just making sure that we stop and smell the roses.
Yes.
And Bruce, where do you shine?
Positivity.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think I see the positive sign usually. When I don't, it's really bad. When I can't find it, it's really, really ugly. But I think that's.
Yeah.
How do you think you would have handled a similar situation as what Heather faced today in the car?
That is a good question. I don't think they cry as freely with me, not because I don't approve, but it's just probably less familiar. I don't know that I ask the questions necessarily too that lead to the tears. And when it probably starts, I probably, reframe and take them a different direction.
Yeah.
Sure.
You would typically make a joke, or if you're in their presence and you're not driving a car, you would physically like joke around and pick them up or
tickle them or something.
Tickle them or make
I don't think just soaking in their emotions, they would have known what to do with that with me, because I've probably not been able to be that for them.
I'm just curious, Bruce, do you cry in front of your kids? Like, have the boys seen you cry before?
I guess not, because they make comments about that. I don't really cry that much.
Sure. Well, and
I
just
can remember 2 times.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Dude, that's great. You actually named them twice. Wow.
Well,
I know 2 times.
I mean, just so that
Yeah.
others understand, like for threes, they grew up with this kind of record player message in their mind that would say something similar to, you shouldn't have your own feelings and your own identity. Therefore, you need to push your feelings and your true identity to the side and become whatever is the most successful image or accomplishment, whatever that is for your family, your school, your whatever it is, that's what you need to become. And so threes have become very skilled at pushing aside those feelings and staying productive and positive and excelling. Does that sound true for you, Bruce?
For sure.
Go ahead.
Well, we're probably going the same place with this, but our small group about 4 years ago or so, we started doing the feelings card
With their 12-step.
Yeah.
and that was.
We did an episode on it. If you go to don'tmomalone.com and you search
Yes.
Bruce labels his feelings.
I love it.
Bruce.
If you're a 3 and you need help, or a male 3 and you
That's
need
awesome.
help, he talks about that experience.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it was for a 3. I don't know if this is a 3 thing or a male thing or what, but for me, it was definitely, I did not have a word or words for how I was feeling.
Yes.
And I still struggle with that. Heather, last weekend, she's like, something's bothering me. I'm like, no, I'm fine. And it took me 2 days to be able to figure
2
out
days, right.
what she was saying. And then I told her, she's like, I've been married with you long enough to where I know when you're sitting on something, but I literally don't often know.
Yeah.
And I think what you liked about the feelings card, and you say this in the episode, is that on the one we have, it has the 8 primary, and then it has like what they typically can break down into, but then it has what your body does.
Physical manifestation.
Yeah.
And so like one of them was like in your stomach or your neck, like where you literally have a negative. And I will get like a tense, like shoulders or neck or stomach. And when I literally looked at those and I started at the physical manifestation and went to the other side, I saw fear and shame. I can't remember which was which. And
the fear stomach. Yeah.
And I thought, I stood back and I was like, let me think about that. Let me think about those times where those were like real problems. And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's exactly what it was.
As you're literally right now holding onto your neck.
Yeah, well, I am. My neck is fine.
It's been a time. Yeah.
But it was helpful to kind of in many ways reverse engineer that and look at the physical manifestation in order to feel that this wasn't just some fuzzy thing, but this was actually, there's like physical manifestations to feelings.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not my nature to understand that.
Yeah.
You've done really good work. I'm very proud of you. Good job.
So the next question is, where do you feel like that you struggle the most as a parent?
Really wanting to do well and feeling like I kept missing the mark, like you were talking about, there was always some method or if I had had Instagram back then,
Oh my gosh.
oh
I
my
say the same
lands,
thing.
Oh, a lot. That
oh
says it a
my
lot.
lands, I could not have
Brutal.
done it.
Or,
Just
we,
Pinterest.
Heather,
Oh,
we were
brutal.
so baby wise.
Yeah.
Like we killed baby wise.
See, our kids are 21 and 23, so this is back in the day.
So I
like-
had the Baby Wise and then the Baby Whisper, and there was one other one, and I'm looking at them and they're saying opposite
Right.
things, and I'm thinking, oh no,
yes.
there's not a formula.
Yes.
Shoot. But I would come to him and I'm like, okay, where we're making a mistake is we need to X, Y, and Z. And I would come in with a new idea all the time. And so everyone says, in order to be a good parent, you just need to be consistent. Oh my goodness. We were consistent at being inconsistent.
There you go.
I was
That's-
consistent in being anxious. So
Yeah.
hope that helped
Me
the kids.
too.
Nate and Libby, it's all yours now.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was where it's a challenge of feeling like I'm just missing one little thing. I think learning about where you go in health and stress was also
Right.
helpful, that I needed to kind of have a something else in motherhood so that I didn't just give of myself completely and lose myself in motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting is a lot of Enneagram books and things that people listen to, they don't kind of take it this next step that I'm going to talk about. I learned it first from Russ Hudson and some of the work he was presenting, is that, and what we call it at your Enneagram coach, is the blind spot. So the same line that you go in growth, at home, you can actually access some of the less healthy attributes of that same type. So for you, normally for the 4 going to the 1 can look, amazing, and so many great aspects of the 1 is pulling that 4 into this really great trajectory of growth. But at home, the 1 can actually come out in some negative ways. Can you see how that might happen at home?
Yes. And
So-
I was telling y'all before we started recording, my mom, I think, is a 1. And so I have that inner voice. And then I also definitely am very critical of myself. I mean, it's in my book where Bruce says, does any mom think she's doing a good job? Because I would always do the whole diatribe at the end of the day of all the ways I'd messed up and wouldn't give myself a break. And he was like, I think because you care so much, you're doing a great job.
Yes. Yeah.
The intention, I never counted the intention. I never looked at all the things I'd done in that day as wins. I just felt like there's a way I could have done it better, and I was missing it.
Well, and if you think about, so you got the 4 that struggles with the envy. So, and I think all moms are going to struggle with this. Like you said, looking at Pinterest or Instagram or mommy blogs, etc. Oh, I'm not doing it right. So, we all kind of struggle with that. But 4, like at your core, the core weakness is envy. And all you're seeing is this barrage of information of how you're missing it. You're missing something, like, oh, you are tragically flawed. That's what the messages are saying. And then in the home, like I'm saying, the blind spot, you also pulling some of the less healthy aspects of 1. So that inner critic is jumping on all the things that you made a mistake in, that all the blogs or the Instagram posts are saying you didn't do it right. And so you can, like for me, my heart goes out to you. Like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could just hug you.
Give me a
that,
big hug.
Yeah,
Yes.
as that younger mom, like I see you and I see how much you're struggling and the shame that must well up with the noise from the outside, but also the heaviness on the inside. Is that kind of how it felt?
Yes. Yeah. And I think what I see as a ripple effect of that is my boys being more critical of themselves or critical of each other. When we got some parent coaching from Connected Families, they said, okay, how about you guys at dinner talk about what went well that day?
Yeah.
And how about if someone makes a mistake, you follow the scripture that grace is bigger than whatever, happened. Like give each other that, or have a do-over, like something goes wrong and do a do-over, because there was especially after my mom lived with us for a year, there was just a lot of critical spirit in our home that felt, and still can a lot of times come up when we're not all in good places. And that's why his positivity is so helpful.
Yes.
That this tone of it's not okay to make any mistakes
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Well, Bruce, what about you? Where is it that you feel like you struggle as a parent? Or what do you wish you could improve?
That's a very positive way to phrase it.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's I have to turn off my. I don't know if I'm turning off my 3, but I'm turning off the achiever, the need to kind of get things done. I have to turn that off. I can't like just slow it down. It has to be on or off. So, for instance, I do the laundry at the house. Well, I do it for myself and the boys. Heather does her own laundry. She's
I have
elected to
special
do that.
detergent.
Yes.
But like we all know, like laundry is not the problem. It's the hard part. It's the folding, right? So I every Saturday morning I go and I get all the laundry and I throw them out in 5 different piles, me and each of the 4 boys, and then they fold them themselves. But what will happen was invariably there's 1 or 2 of the boys who will crank out their laundry folding, and then 2 that it's Thursday and they still haven't folded them, and maybe they've picked them up and put them in the room, put them on the floor in the room, and so I can sometimes be so focused on checking things off the list that can wear the boys out. And Heather,
a lot of reminders. You keep us on task, but I feel bad that becomes your job because it's not very connected to be the boss.
Sure.
People aren't friends with the boss. So, I mean, he's even like really efficiently dinner time. Like everyone has a role, goals and roles. That was a thing you created. Everyone would sit down and have their goals for the quarter and then their roles that they played in the house. And so which part of dinner were you responsible for? Which part of the house were you responsible for?
Yes.
Which is helpful because I wouldn't innately think of that structure. I wouldn't do that. And I need it to function well, but I push against it. Yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing. So as a 9 at the home, there'll be more 3-like things that come out. That's my blind spot. Man, I have created so many amazing chore charts, McCord, castle zones. Like we're setting this all up. Okay, you're doing this, and then every week we'll switch. It's going to be great. And then we even I think when our kids were like 10 was like, okay, so again, they're like 23 and 20. So like on the computer, this chore thing finally came out, and like they could win all these kind of cool things if they put in their chores. And I thought, we're going to kill it. Finally, never worked because I won't continue the process as a 9. It's like I set it up like a great 3 would, but I don't have great follow through. And so it always.
Well, you don't want to cause the conflict.
Right, because they're all like, they're so excited about it first. Like, oh, this is going to be amazing. We're going to earn points and like toys and all this stuff. And then like a week later, no one cares. And I'm like, I don't want to fight about this. I don't really want to push. So Bruce, you probably are killing it and doing such a great job by having all the zones and doing such a great job that
he's a good executor.
Yes, sure. Exactly.
Yeah. Not executor like an executionist, not that.
Right.
Well, yeah, I haven't figured out that.
No,
yes,
that's not right. Even close to what I'm saying.
That would be a character defect in your parenting.
Yes.
Clearly.
Deceit would be strong in that situation.
Yes.
Well, that does speak to something because as it relates to goals and roles, one of the questions that we ask is when your kids are 30, 20s, it's pretty bumpy. They're trying to find out who they are separate from parents. But when they're 30, Bruce, you can start with you. Who do you hope, or what do you hope your boys will be whenever they're 30?
Yeah, what are their virtues?
And maybe how the goals and roles are connected to that, like the kind of person they are when they get older.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to really know who they are and how they're gifted. And I think more than else, I want them to be, my hope for them would be that they're living their giftedness. I don't know if that's your exact question, but I think it really starts from that. And we talk about that a lot, and, each of our boys have different areas of giftedness and, really trying to encourage them in that. And I think really that's really where I think I start, because I feel like if they're have a good sense of who they are and they're going after those passions, then I think they're going to have a more healthy lifestyle. They're more likely to have a better spiritual life and a better family life and a better professional life.
That's good.
And what do you think, how would you feel if that didn't happen?
Yeah. I mean, well, as a 3, I would feel that I failed.
Yes. Now, and I'm assuming there are times that the boys don't come through, and do you oftentimes take the responsibility or feel the responsibility whenever they make mistakes?
I don't know. Do you think I do?
Like one of them got on the watch list for grades. Did you take on responsibility for that?
This was about to get really dark whenever you said put them on the watch list. Like what that term means so much now.
That is a very strong word for a middle school.
Yes, it is.
It's one of our kids who normally does really good and
really well,
really well in school, and he kind of took the foot off the pedal. And to be honest, he kind of does it like he does well in school, kind of without a lot of effort and with a lot of effort from us either. And then all of a sudden we get this notification that he was struggling in school.
It's in one subject.
But I don't feel like we overreacted.
I was just trying to find an example where you might feel like you needed to like own that, or
I think I really try to not burden them with that, maybe that expectation of, my expectation of them.
Or like with Quaid, and we have a high schooler, right? So there's a little bit of, the next big thing for him is getting into college.
Yeah.
So do you feel ownership over his journey right now to getting into college?
I think I feel that more than I'm communicating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I recognize that adding, like I think about like what would be helpful, what would and would not have been helpful as far as an approach to me if I was getting that back when I was their age. And so that tends to be a filter for me.
Yeah.
And I think, frankly, the more that's pushed on me as I think back from a parent, I think the less I would be more likely to benefit from that wisdom. I feel like I'd benefit more from it if I kind of had to learn some of that. So I think sometimes what I feel I want to say and what I actually say will tend to be abridged.
Yeah.
Sure.
A more constructive vision casting rather than this, and this are wrong.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Heather, what about you?
Yeah.
The boys are 30.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that it's interesting to hear the different answers. Because in my head, I was like, well, if I'm thinking real ideal, I do hope that they are, in very happy marriages and loving parents. And, I do want them to be in community and serving people well, whatever area that is in their life. Their assignments. And so I do think of like the whole, and I'm realizing a lot of it is connectedness to other people and to where they are. So,
yeah. Yeah.
And what would it mean to you as a mom and to your 4 heart if they weren't connected to people in their 30s? That they had difficulty in marriage or maybe having babies and occupation, they haven't found clarity on what they want to do.
Get very sad.
I could literally
crying.
I could see your countenance change.
That would be so hard to watch.
I think this is like such a great, like, if we can just pause for a second for the audience to recognize that 4s, their emotions are so vast and deep and real, and their minds can really take them to another place, and then they feel that other place. So like I could literally, as Jeff was saying it, watch you imagine this path as if that your kids are there, and how you, and like you literally embodied it. And so that is such a gift of a 4 to be able to do that, because it allows you to also be with people in their sorrow and to feel their feelings. So I just kind of wanted people in the audience to hear the specialness of that ability, even though I know it doesn't necessarily always feel, it's special, because here you're envisioning, a trajectory of the potential of your boys going in a direction you don't want. But thank you for just exuding such a beautiful part of the type 4.
And
Thanks.
and one of
You're welcome.
the great thing you're welcome. One of the dynamics that happen, and I'm assuming this happens with other parents. I know it does, but I'm going to give you guys the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes in parenting, I might initiate something, Beth may initiate something, but the other spouse disagrees, and so we end up dancing about parenting, and we're not actually parenting the child. Like the child's like, "Hey, can you guys do this another time? I don't need to be here for this."
Yeah.
But I am curious. I mean, now seeing you both and talking with you about this and asking you the same question and having different responses, what is it like for you? How do you relate as a couple whenever there are disagreements about parenting a child?
And what would be the typical things maybe you are different on?
Well, I think how we approach that had a very different history. Like, I think maybe one place to start would be back when we had our first and he was a baby.
What do you mean?
About putting him to bed.
Oh, the whole cry it out situation.
Yes. Yes, we do.
So our first had a lot of reflux. He had a really hard time sleeping for a very long time. And I did not like hearing him cry. And Bruce was totally fine with it.
I didn't enjoy it. I just felt like it was necessary.
Yeah,
it was necessary to get to the goal.
But even right there, that is such a classic 4-3 thing, because the 3 is like, hey, what is efficient and what is best is this path over here. And it's not that I love to hear my child cry, but the fastest way to get us all to the other side is this path, and we just need to stick to it. Whereas the 4 feels all the feels of what's going on, and that makes it really challenging.
And to be even as you describe it, Beth, I feel the ambivalence in my heart from those moments as a father. Like, what do I do now? I want to comfort child, but is that going to set us back on them being able to self-soothe and sleep through the night?
Well, your 6 is coming out.
And then all of a sudden you put in, yeah, that's right. There's a whole committee going on right now. Like, what does God think about all this? Is he disappointed in me, or is he even with me?
Well,
I don't know.
And then
He's left the building.
And then you're like, I'm going to go buy several books on Amazon to figure this out.
Oh, that's the worst. I can't.
Because it's true.
It's the worst. I would totally have a dozen parenting books on sleeping the next week.
Okay. Back to you guys.
Okay. That's right. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do our thing now.
An internal moment as we're talking about it. Yeah, no, I really think, that caused major conflict for a little bit, because I would just look at him and say, it's my baby and I'm going in there. Like, I just couldn't. So the one time he did sleep training, I was actually gone for the weekend.
Well, she didn't know I was going to be doing sleep training.
I didn't know you were doing it, but
she was gone, and it was my opportunity to do cry it out.
I've never heard of sleep training.
Well, poor guy. One, his kids are in his 20s, and 2, I don't think we didn't really read up on all the things except for that one book. So anyway, so you did sleep training, and how did it go?
Wow.
It was.
He now sleeps.
Well, keep in mind, at this point, he was like well over a year. He was. It wasn't like we were trying to get an 8-month-old. Maybe he had been crying
when
a
we
lot.
had his siblings, and you could swaddle them, put in a pacifier, and they just go to sleep. We were like,
yes.
Oh, this is what people were talking about.
Yep.
It wasn't something wrong with us. Like, and now anyway, there's a lot more to that, even of learning about who he is and his wiring, and even like his neurology and stuff. Yeah. So,
well, Heather, I think just to pick up on something, the fact that like you got bigger, you raised your arm, this is my baby. Yeah. Did you feel like you needed to get big?
There's a whole thing there. Bruce is 4 years older than me.
Okay.
I'm elderly.
He's elderly. So he was a senior when I was a freshman when we met at college. But there's a part of me that really just let him make the choices, make the decision, be the ultimate voice in our family because of that age gap and me being more back and forth and not really confident of what I think or believe about things. And so when I really when that gut or that heart was just like rearing up, it was a lot to push through and say, no, enough. This really matters to me. And I think our marriage has grown, one, when we started taking walks and it was a more side-by-side relationship.
Yep.
He was asking for advice on work. I would talk about my work, and our marriage grew a ton during that time. But then even with me having this business and being an author, I have self-differentiated a lot and come into my own of what I really think is important.
Right.
But when it comes to our kids, I think sometimes I will feel like there's a really big problem. I'm sensing these two boys are really not getting along, and it's very important that we deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I'm trying to be the neck to turn his attention to it. And because he's just going forward, his head is straight. And I'm like, no, look right here. This is a really big problem. And I think before, his dismissiveness of it made me think, well, then maybe it's not a problem. And I think I'm learning to kind of own where I am, right? And then also trust him when I'm making a bigger deal out of something that's not a big deal.
Yes.
Wow. Man, you guys are so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, one, you're able to articulate all the various dynamics that are happening, and I know that comes as a consequence of doing a lot of work and walking through some very meaningful and deep conversations. So thank you. Even for my kids, when we had a season of really profound sorrow, the greatest gift I was able to give to my kids is to do my own work. And they saw it and know that it's okay to go to those places because God's going to do something there. Well, we've got a lot of questions that we could ask.
Keep going.
But I want to, you can choose the last question, okay? Which one you want to answer. So I'm going to give you 4 options. And you get to choose. Number 1 is this. What are your avoid at all cost rules? Like, this will never happen in our home. Or
the rule is, what is the rule we
That's
would
right.
stick to? It's
That's right. So
okay.
Beth was teased as a child by her brother, so there was never an option, no matter how much conflict she had to face, that our kids could tease each other at all, like immediately stop. But okay, number 2 is, are there ever situations where your child embarrasses you?
Okay.
So like where your sense of proving your worth as a parent is showing up because your kid's not doing what you want them to do. Number 3 is, do your children ever give you feedback? And what is that feedback? And if they're not giving you feedback, why? Or the last one is, what's your dominant style of, or your preferable style of engaging with your children? Is it teaching, correcting, affirmation, coaching? Is it just being present, physically present, or whatever that style might be?
So which question sounds?
So you get to choose.
I think I'm going to pick number 2 because I feel like it really fits with me being a 4-wing 3 and him being a 3.
Okay. Yeah, you can both pick different questions too. That's
we can
perfectly
pick different
fine.
questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick that one because it also fits with my book a lot.
Great.
Like,
let's do that.
Chapter 1, 2, 3, all about me really working through separating my kids' behavior from my worth as a mom.
Yes, that is the question.
It was, I'm just saying that was my story.
Yes.
Like, that is literally my journey as a mom, was they can be wrong and I can be okay.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, in our 20s, when we are differentiating from our parents, we are wrestling with that question that, am I going to be who I want to be or who my parents need me to be? And so it is, if you've not realized that in some ways you are battling still with your parents in your head when you're parenting, then you've got some work to do. That's for our audience, not necessarily for you guys. But well, why don't you explain a little bit more, Heather? Like, what is it personally for you?
I think that it was another layer of performance, a layer of, okay, them being good out in public tells other people I'm a good mom, and then I'm okay.
Yep.
Then I'm feeling good about who I am as a person. Instead of, and that just became increasingly harder to do the more boys I had.
Right.
kinds of boys I had.
And the fact that there's 4.
There are 4 of them and 1 of me, and they are more high energy. You come from a very high energy family. We haven't had diagnoses of attention things, but we probably have some attention things going on. And so there was legitimate challenges, but then when I'm trying to control all that chaos, and I ended up having a panic attack and a chicken drive-through line because I could no longer pretend, because I wasn't okay inside.
Right.
And I was pretending that I was okay on the outside so that I would be approved by others, and that I just combusted. It couldn't hold.
That is such a perfect example of a 4 with a 3 wing. Seriously, because literally, because your core is the 4 to be your most authentic self, to show the world, this is who I am. I'm proud of who I am. This is what I can offer that's unique and different and special. And yet the 3 is saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. There are all these rules that we need to hold to so that people see this glittering image as a mom. And we have to do that first and foremost because people see it or the lack thereof. And that's going to devalue us. And you could only hold that for so long. And then the 4 is just going to burst through and say, enough. I have to be me.
When you layer on top of that Christianity.
Oh, sure.
And I was writing the God-Centered Mom blog, God-Centered Mom. And God-Centered Mom was my podcast. And that had shifted from I am self-centered and child-centered, and now I want to be God-centered, to everyone thinking I already am the God-centered mom. I figured it. So I was trying to, in my effort in this appearance of being very faithful and spiritual, hold that in. And you couldn't.
Well, Bruce, in our few remaining minutes, what's your dominant or preferable style of engaging with your children? And as examples, do you feel like you're doing a lot of teaching, a lot of correcting? Is it affirmation based? Is it coaching based? Or, is it just, I am present and available to you?
I would say it's first and foremost affirmation based. I think that comes easy to me, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy, so all that. I think number 1 is that. I think number 2 is very much a kind of a begin with the end in mind, and really kind of have them, try to talk a little bit more forward thinking. So rather than talk about doing something right now, it's more about, where we're going. And so I would say those are probably right. But I would say the affirmation is easily the number 1. Would you agree?
Yes. I think it is a very big gift to these boys. They have no idea that the dominant father figure in their life is a kind voice in their head.
Sure.
Well, that is a gift for a lifetime
Yes.
that so many people are trying to overcome.
Yeah.
In particular, in the relationship with God, they can't imagine a God who is loving and kind, and they have you. And that's such a gift. And my dad was that way. He was very loving and kind, and probably what drew me to you as well. Is just your positivity reminded me of my dad.
Well, and it's also a great example of a 3 with a 2 wing. So 3s are great encouragers. 2s are great encouragers. 2s are wanting to get in there and connect and help and support. So it sounds like you're very involved with the boys' lives. Your affirmations are tuned into them, just instead of just kind of, like a rock skipping on the pond. But then the other really great thing that 3s are good at is starting with the end in mind. That is literally what a 3 does, because a 3 is never going to take on a challenge or a task or a goal or a mission without the end in mind, because for them, they want to make sure, can I accomplish it? They're not just going to open the door to, a dark room and just go. Okay, I'm going to calculate this. Do I have enough time? Do I have enough resources? Do I have enough skill? And so having the end in mind is really helpful. And not everyone can do it like a 3. That's just not everyone's superpower. And so to teach your sons how to do that, if they're not 3s, and you've got 4 boys, so there's the likelihood of none of them are 3s. So you're teaching them a skill that they may not naturally have. So that's a really, really cool thing.
Hey, you have been a gift. This is, we appreciate just being with you and your willingness to engage. And I think you're so insightful in being able to connect with your heart and your parenting and your big story. So thank you so much.
And all the work that you have done in the 22 years to get here, and it does take, I just as an encouragement, and I think you guys would say the same, as an encouragement to those that are new to parenting or in those toddler years, hang on, keep going, keep learning about yourself, keep growing. It's bumpy, it can be turbulent, it can be rocky, but these are all things that God is using to help us to grow closer to Him, closer to one another, and closer to our kids. Would you guys agree?
Completely. And talk to other people. We were at dinner the other night with a couple. Okay, so they're a 6 and a 7. And we have walked with them. I mean, they've shown up to dinners and said they just had a fight. We are real.
And they're still working through the fight as they're coming to dinner. It's not over.
It's not over.
Right.
But, she's the 6 and he's the 7. And they were using this analogy of like, well, he's the red shiny balloon and she's the tack who's just coming in and popping it. And she said, well, that's kind of a negative analogy. Let's think of something else. And so they came up, and I think it's so fantastic that he's the red shiny balloon and she is the string.
Yep.
Yes.
And so without him, she would just be a string on the ground and not having any fun. And without her, he would be just floating off in outer space. And so they kind of ground each other.
That's so funny.
I'm a string.
Literally what we say. So my dad and my mom are the exact same couple type combination. And we literally talk about how he is like this balloon and she's actually the one holding onto the balloon, but you lift your head up to look at a balloon, right? Or a kite.
Yes.
So your head's up instead of just kind of being in the negative. But then my dad literally would fly away without my mom. And who knows where he would be. In some he was fun fantasy world.
He was a pediatric allergist. And when our son started to wear costumes, but not just for Halloween, but 4, throughout right? Every day is a new costume.
Yeah. You have 4 boys. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. We've had those stages. Yeah. Spider-Man at breakfast.
Her dad just decided, I'm going to dress up like Spider-Man and be a doctor for a day. But it happened, and it was a gift to everybody there, but your mom had to ground me, like, you need to be professional. They're not going to trust you.
If every day it's a different costume, may not work out. Yeah.
Right. Maybe once a year, Bruce. Maybe. I'm sorry. Yeah. My dad is Bruce.
That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not you, Bruce.
Okay.
Not you.
I just realized that you're probably thinking, why is she saying my name? Well, thank you guys for coming on our show today. We are just so thrilled to get to know you and hear your story and what God has done and through your 22 years of marriage, but also your parenting. And I just want to remind everyone out there that Heather's first book, we're so excited about this, is being released October 12th, and it's called Don't Mom Alone. And boy, do not mom alone, for sure. Like, we all think we should do that because we feel shame and guilt and all the things. But please go check out our book. Her podcast has the same name. Check out her podcast. And then we'll link all the show notes and everything we talked about there so you can all check out her book, her podcast, and everything we talked about.
Well, friends, the kind of conversations that we can have with people is something that you can do as well. And here in a few weeks, we're going to be opening up our new Enneagram marriage and family coaching certification. And so we hope you'll go and take a look, because there's tremendous opportunities to be able to extend God's grace to some very dear parts of our hearts. And people need help. And we're glad to train people to be able to do that.
But as always, remember that the Enneagram reveals your need for Jesus, not your need to work harder. It's the gospel that transforms us. We'll see you on the next episode.